exactly what we're talking about this morning as well in our report this morning, or a big conversation. And if you look at pages 14, you're going to read about a windfall for port staff set to receive 500 million shillings in pending bonuses. There's a story that I wanted us to look at this morning as well. On the back page, let's see whether the Daily Nation has picked it. It was a story that has really got a lot of football fans talking. Let's see the perspective they picked. Nothing. It's a big story. I don't know why they never picked that story for referees apologizing to Wolves after Man United robbed Wolves of the, well, it could have been a win, by the way, because had they scored that penalty, you never know what may happen after that. They've chosen to go with the Bruyne story. Is now facing up to 4 months. There's also fears that Timber for Arsenal, the best signing of the season, also might actually be out for 4 months. Right, that's a bigger story that they should have carried here. Anyway, let's cross over to the Standard this morning. Hopefully they do have that story of Man United robbing Wolves of their win. Good. Where are they? That is the question that the Standard is asking this morning after leading an acrimonious split over the 2022 presidential polls. The Cherera 4 commissioners were forced out of office yesterday. Azimio leader Odinga revealed that Juliana Cherera and Irene Masit had fled to the US, fearing reprisals. All right, there's a particular story that's been covered on page 5. If you read on the front page as well, the pictures there over the CEOG, essentially kicking off the devolution conference in Eldoret today. All right, and this is what they're saying. The CS Devolution Conference is the 10th since Kenya adopted the new constitution. And we're going to see exactly the issues that come up from the Devolution Conference in Eldoret, with all the 47 governors of the 47 counties of the country camped right there for the next couple of days, as the president is set to join them today for the next 4 days as they look into issues, development, and counting back the 10 years that devolution has essentially existed. All right. If you look at page 6, there's a story here of echoes of BBI as Member of Parliament secure talks in the House. And you don't know where that story is coming from. It's the debate that the National House and the Senate House are going to have this week and next week, just to make sure that all the discussions that come from Bomas of Kenya are essentially anchored within law, so they become law. On pages 18, Kenya risks IMF wrath on subsidy. You see, that's the story that we're talking about. The government doesn't want to talk about subsidy. Both newspapers this morning are saying that this is indeed a subsidy. Good. Read that particular story on page 18. Yes, that story is here. Yeah? And this is what he's saying on the back page. Man United, refs, boss admits penalty error. Yes, they should be deducted that 1 point. 2 points, sorry. Yeah? Listen, this is the introduction. I'm going to read this story out of public interest. 3 Premier League officials at the center of a decision not to award a penalty to Wolves at Manchester United have been overlooked for this weekend's matches. Overlooking? You should fire them. You should fire them. And go back and rethink about that win for Man United. Here's the thing. Man United keep on saying that they're better this season, but if you look at how they performed in that first game, worst I've ever seen. Even last season when they were losing, they played better. So they were held, essentially, to win again. Let's see whether Hoyland, a man who has scored 9 goals in 32 games, would come in and beat Haaland, so they help Man United win the league. Ha! What is the hope for your team if you have Hoyland as your main striker? Let's be real. Anyway, it's not about football. Let's take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom where we get to share with you some of the biggest stories that you're waking up to this morning. I've already received threats from some Man United fans saying that you cannot slander our team like that. It's not slander, it's reality. It's gotta be, yeah? Let's see whether you win the next game. Good. Now, traders and residents of Lodwar town are counting losses mounting to millions after a fire outbreak which consumed several shops and houses. The fire, which is assigned to have been caused by a faulty power line, left a number of residents in the cold. The locals now blame firefighters for arriving late when the damage was irreversible.
Watu walikuanzia saa 10 moto ikianza. Wamekuja hapa saa 11 ikienda karibu saa 12. Kabisa. Hakuna kitu ambao wanakuja tena wanakuja hawana maji. Wamekuja hawana maji, wanakuja maji kidogo, hata tena wanaokopa wanasimamia mbali. Hawasimamii karibu.
Hii fire mara ya kwanza ilikuwa inasimama pale uwanja wa ndege. Ni karibu na town. Lakini sasa fire imetolewa hapa, fire inapelekwa kilomita sijui ngapi karibu na kurudi Kitale huko. Kwa hivyo tukiomba wale wahusika hii fire kama inawezekana irudishwe station yake katikati ya town. Na hiyo manake hii town ya Lodwar ni roho ya Turkana County. Manake unakuta Kalokol wanategemea hapa. Na unakuta watu wa Lokchogio, yani watu wa Nadapal wanategemea hapa. Sasa kama hii fire itawekwa huko mbali, mahali hata kwamba kabla ifike hapa nusu ya mafuta ya hiyo fire imeisha.
Kenya tunaomba hapa fire things tuko nazo, lakini na vijana wazee wamewekwa hapa waweze zima moto. Watu wengi vijana kuja kuzima moto hapa kaunti Turkana kikuwepo itasaidia sana, lakini unapata ambao gari za moto zinakuja na watu na ni wazee. Ni vijana wa kaunti boda ndio wameokoa moto hapa, lakini wenye fire things hakuna hiyo kitu wanafanya.
Let's move on to another sad story this morning where 4 men were killed in cold blood by unknown goons in Gashugi village, Kiambu County on Monday night. Now the 4 were said to have been heading home when they were attacked. Faith Bonareri with more.
According to the residents, the deceased succumbed from grave head injuries afflicted by the attackers, who only aimed at their heads. Leah Wangari, a mother of 4 whose husband was murdered, recalled how her son received a call informing him that his father had been knocked by a vehicle and was lying by the roadside, bleeding profusely.
Sasa wenye waliuawa pande ya Gatundu North ni bwanangu na mimi nakaanga Ngoigwa Batia nakaanga Kairi. So ni simu nilipigiwa kutoka huku Gishagi, nikakonfirmiwa ya kwamba bwanangu ni mmoja hao wameuawa, na nikakuja nikatafuta gari nikapanda na watoto wangu na mandugu zangu tukakuja kuconfirm kama ni bwanangu na tukapata ni yeye. So vile tulipata ni yeye hatungekuwa na otherwise, lakini sasa tunasikia kwa roho yetu tumeumia juu tumeachwa kama ni watoto wangu wameachwa na baba yao na mimi nimeachwa na bwanangu. Tulipatana naye tu last Wednesday. Ndio tulikuwa naye na tukaongea na hatukuwa na ubaya, tukaongea tu na tukaachana juu tulikuwa kwa gari. Yeye akashukia Katukuyu na mimi nikashukia Ngoingwa.
The residents now call on area security apparatus to beef up security in their areas and pleaded with local leaders led by area MP Elijah Njoroge to install security lights for safety.
Ombi letu kama wakaaji wa kijiji hiki na maeneo haya yote ni ya kwamba tunahitaji backup ya usalama, kwa sababu usalama ni kama sio ya kwamba umelegea, lakini tunahitaji uongezewe zaidi. Wale ambao wanalinda usalama, bwana chief na wale assistant chief na askari wetu, kama kunaweza kuwa na askari na watu ambao watakuwa na civilian wakifanya patrol wakati wa usiku, masaa ya jioni, watatusaidia ili ya kwamba jambo kama hili ama tukio kama hili linapotendeka response inaweza kuwa haraka kama vile bwana chifu alifanya jana. Na tunaomba ya kwamba hata wale ambao ni wahusika kama hawatabadilika, Mungu tu mkono wake uko juu yao, na tunaombea wabadilike.
Tukumbuke Gatundu North ndio kuna police officers ambao hawatoshi kwa stations. Tuko na stations ambazo hazijafikisha hata 12 police officers across Gatundu North. Hapa ndio Gatundu North ambapo hata police headquarters yetu ya Kamwangi inahitaji usaidizi, inahitaji shamba, inahitaji ofisi za DCI, hawana ofisi, na tunahitaji mpaka magari kwa sababu area zetu ni kubwa sana, ndio polisi wetu waweze kufikia wananchi.
Faith Bonareri, Lookuptv.
Now, 8 people on a Wednesday survived terror attacks when assailants believed to be of terror group Al-Shabaab launched attacks on 2 separate vehicles ferrying passengers in Lamu County. Now, 6 people were lucky to survive the attack on Garsen Mokowe Road, while 2 escaped unhurt when their lorry en route to Bargoni came under attack. Security officers who were immediately deployed in the area managed to foil the attacks, with residents calling for enhanced security.
Wakaenuka kwa wingi kama zaidi ya watu 50 wakakuja barabarani na wakaanza kunirusha risasi. Wakarusha huku wakishauti wakisema simama. Sasa kwa sababu ya kuokoa abiria wangu, walivyokuwa wanapiga zile risasi zao, mimi wakirusha napiga gari zigzag, nikabidi nihepeshe gari mkono wangu wa kulia au wakiwa mkono wa kushoto. So nikaingiza gari msituni, lakini kwa bahati mbaya wakalenga tairi ya mbele ya upande wa Taniboy na gari ikaanza ikaroli, ikainuka kabisa, ikalala, miguu ikawa juu. Hapo ndo nikapiga kioo, nikavunja kioo, nikawa wa kwanza kutoka, nikavuta maabiria wangu, ikiwa maadui bado wanasonga, tena bado wanarusha risasi. Hapo nika manage kutoa watu 3, 2 wakawa wamebaki pale ndani, mwanamke mmoja na jamaa mmoja. So tukakimbia msituni, wakafika pale, wakakutana na yule madam, lakini bahati nzuri madam akawa yuko pale, hajiwezi, anatetemeka, lakini anasoma shahada ile yake ya mwisho, maana kifo kilikuwa kimemfikia. So walivyoona vile, wakasimama pale, wakaomba msamaha kwa yule madam, wakamwambia pole, chukua vitu zako kimbie. Kumbe ni Waislamu wenzetu, wakamsaidia kutoroka, akakimbia na yeye kutufuata sisi msituni. Ndio tukakimbia mpaka tukatokelezea kijiji huko kwa chief, tukapata kukaa hapo, ndio tukasikia usaidizi, wanajeshi wanakuja hapo, wakabidi waokoe.
A petitioner has called on members of parliament to ban the use of popular social media application TikTok, saying it is a contributor to the erosion of culture and religious morals in the society. The executive officer of a Bridget Connect consultancy, Bob Ndolo, in a petition to the National Assembly Tuesday, called on members of parliament to move with speed and ban the use of TikTok in the country, as it is exposing young people to explicit sexual content.
That my office has received a petition from one Mr. Bob Ndolo, the executive officer of the Bridget Connect consultancy, regarding the banning of TikTok in Kenya.
In a complete plea to the National Assembly on Tuesday, Bob Ndolo, the executive officer of Bridget Connect consultancy, highlighted the urgent need to curb the use of TikTok in Kenya. Ndolo asserts that the app is exposing young individuals to explicit sexual content, which he believes is contributing to the degradation of societal norms. Among the reasons outlined in the petitioner's case, he points out that TikTok's content has become a platform for promoting explicit material, inciting violence, spreading hate speech, and using offensive language. This, he argues, poses a serious threat to the cultural and religious values of Kenya.
Honourable members, having established that the matter raised in the petition is well within the authority of this House, and further that the matters raised in the petition are not pending before any court of law, constitutional or legal body, I hereby commit the petition to the Public Petitions Committee for consideration pursuant to Standing Order 208A. The committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and to the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order 2272.
Furthermore, Ndolo expresses deep concern about the app's potential harm to the development of Kenyan children. He argues that the unregulated nature of TikTok, which allegedly falls outside the oversight of the Communications Authority of Kenya, could be detrimental to the nation's youth.
The petition avers that in Kenya, the internet application is not regulated by the Communications Authority of Kenya, leading to the failure to remove or block content deemed to be inappropriate or offensive. Honourable members, the petitioner further avers that TikTok has been implicated in several privacy scandals over the past years. For instance, in 2019, the app was fined $5.7 million by the United States of America Federal Trade Commission for illegally collecting personal information from children under the age of 13.
The call to ban TikTok is undeniably generating intense discussions among legislators, policymakers and citizens as the nation grapples with the delicate balance between technology, culture values and societal well-being.
Therefore, Honorable Speaker, as much as I feel what Mr. Ndolo says, there could be an element of abuse of all these apps. But Honorable Speaker, we cannot, as a House, preside over the banning, outright banning of any app. We cannot fight with technology. Honorable Speaker, what probably Ndolo should have done is to petition the House, and maybe that's what the relevant committee should do, is to look at ways how you regulate the use of these apps, how you restrict the age groups that will be able to use these apps, how the Communications Authority of Kenya and ICT authorities will be able to regulate the content that is being uploaded for viewership, to be able to view.
I am of the view, very, very strong view, that in this digital age,
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Every Sunday saa 10. Jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro, upate hela.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaini kitako, tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana baby na majina mengine matamu matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine.
Itakuwaje?
Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Maliki?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu ni mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza, kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
Michezo na wachezaji, matukio na matokeo uwanjani. Tumejifunga kibwebwe kukuletea mbwembwe, si mazungumzo ya kusisimua. Ndiyo maana safu ya spoti ipo hapa kwa ajili yako. ZFC! Nami hapa nahodha Robert Chacha, si suisui, na kuandalia kipindi bomba cha safu ya spoti kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 7:30 ndani ya runinga nambari 1 ya michezo Lookuptv.
Kiangazi. Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158, or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
So this is how we create an art piece.
Some say it's organized chaos, while others say it is a way of survival. For Alex Kamanjiri, art is an avenue to say what he would have otherwise lacked words to express. Like many artists, it took an outsider to make him realize his knack for the arts.
First of all, it did not start like a dream. It was a lie. Yeah. While I was in high school in Form 2, I drew a portrait of an old man smoking, and my friends lied to me that it was really nice, and I believed in the lie, and I started practicing slowly. YouTube, most of my skills I've learned from YouTube, and soon enough I became good. I became that lie, became that good.
In line with the legendary 10,000 hours rule, Alex says he has put in the work and is certainly on his way to achieve true expertise. He reminisces proudly the first time he earned from this trade.
Okay, yeah, it was a portrait of an old madam. Yeah, she wanted me to draw her. Then I remember it was a small A3 size piece. Yeah, it was really nice. It was a really high pressure because once you're used to drawing just for yourself and you're being given a commission for the first time, there's a lot of pressure in your head. Not because you're good, because you think you want to put your best into it. So.
At the sound of art, many people think of a drawing, but rarely do we think of bids on an art piece.
I used to do portraits, a lot of portraits using pencil. And in the gallery that I exhibit, I saw a piece by a lady called Christine Okuma. I've never met her. I would love to meet her one day. It was a mixed media art. It was a kitenge and some beads. Yeah, if I'm right, yeah. So some triangular abstract work. And an idea popped up. Oh, why don't I mix these beads and the portraits that I make? Let me try out. And then I tried out, and the response from my friends and the people who love my work are like, yeah, should try this more.
Wood, glue, beads, pencils, just to name a few of the tools required. The process can be demanding.
It depends with the size and also the size of the beads that you're using. Yeah, and also the intricacies, because there's some more detailed artworks than others.
When swamped with work, Alex retreats because time is an essential part of the craft.
And we start by sketching the piece. And this piece is already sketched and it's already painted. So the reason as to why we paint before is because the beads has holes. And the holes, if the background is different from the image, it will create a different effect. So you have to paint the background first. And let's do a part that we've already painted. Where do we? Okay, let's start by this part here. So you start by placing the wood glue. We use wood glue because it's on plywood. Make sure it does not spread. Slowly take your time, and then after that, normally I use a biro, but you put the beads first. You don't just spread, but you can also use something that has a sharp tip, like this, by placing it and arranging it slowly. First you start with the edges. Move them slowly.
After all the time, energy and creativity, it's no wonder why art pieces are deemed expensive.
I'm doing my own project. Most of the time it might be more expensive because it's my own project. But there's some images that I just create that I sell at a reasonable price, depending on the size and the intricacies, the details and stuff. For example, the A3s, most of the time they range between 5 to 12K. So the A3s, this is an A3. And as we go up, the money goes up.
With art galleries steadily becoming popular around Nairobi, this 21-year-old artist is keen on penetrating the market.
Currently, I'm exhibiting at a gallery in Karen, Waterfront Mall. It's called the Gallery. And on Saturdays, I take my works to a market. It's called Organic Farmers Market. Yeah, it's also in Karen, around Karen area, Marula Lane. That's where currently I'm getting most of my sales, the gallery and the market. But also I get from people from IG, from the net. They reach out if they want portraits or if they like what I've posted and they want to buy, they also contact me there.
For 2 years now in the beaded art world, his inspiration comes from everyday life experiences, emotions, and the power of observation.
Sometimes it comes in words, sometimes it comes in images. So I have to write things down. I have a diary where I write my ideas from.
As an artist, Alex hopes the pieces he makes will capture a moment in time. But many times, the complexities that exist within the art world are a handful.
I can say it's a risk to some extent, because you never know. You never know if you're going to earn from it or not. So by taking that risk, because Kenya art is not as appreciated as other countries.
Youth Affairs, Arts and Sports Cabinet Secretary Babu Namwamba has been on a mission to revive the art scene in the country, which has for years not yielded much for the creatives. For Alex, the culture should be inculcated in our everyday life.
Just let the artist be. Because me, I can say I was blessed to have a father who accepted me as an artist. Like, he was like, this is a statement he actually said, as long as you're not killing or stealing, you do your thing. That's what he said.
With the hope of one day being his own boss, consistency is his gospel.
They say that art is the journey of a free soul. And for Alex Kamanjiri, he's only just beginning to explore the colors and turn the chaos into beautiful pieces. Nancy Nalima, Lookuptv, Kowinda, Karen, Nairobi.
As the night falls, We come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Imekuwa ni gumzo mtaani magari yanayotumia stima. Hili ni mojawapo ya magari hayo. Urembo wake unanivutia na ninahisi kiu ya kutaka kujua mengi zaidi kulihusu.
Okay, so I charge my car using my home charger. It's connected to my electricity meter. It's almost just like a socket. So I connect it to the car. Yeah, so it's connected to the car where the fuel pump usually is. And the green light there shows that actually charging. You can tell the time left to charge from inside.
Okay. Ni wapi mtu ambapo huangalia kuhakikisha gari linaingia moto maarufu kuchaji?
So far it says it has 20 minutes left. As you see, the blinking fuel, in quotes, light shows it's charging, and there's another light there on the center console that shows it's charging as well.
Which one? Like
right here. There's a beeping.
Sasa hapa ndio inasema kwamba imebakisha dakika 20 ndio iweze kumaliza kucharge.
Ndio iweze kumaliza.
Okay.
Alafu also on where the fuel tank is supposed to be, kuna taa hapo inawaka pia.
Na je, wakati ambapo uko barabarani, mtu atajuaje iwapo gari limeisha moto au chaji?
So unaona mali inaonyesha red.
Naam.
Yeah. So when it gets there, you start getting warnings. The car will reduce its performance just to extend the range further. To a point to reduce its maximum speed just so that you can get further. If you still don't charge, itajizima tu, itakwambia pull over.
Iyadi ambaye ni mkurugenzi mkuu wa kampuni ya EV Charger wamekuwa katika harakati ya kuzindua charger za kibinafsi za kuingiza magari moto hususan kwa kutumia stima ya nyumbani.
So we created a version 1 charger which we built in Kenya with working with partners and experts. In South Africa, we've created our version 2, which is in the box, and we're developing version 3. Yenye hiyo ndo tutaweka in our first site by end of July. Yeah. Okay. So in your version 2, just kukuonyesha, in your commercial charger. When this is installed to the grid, you connect it like that, and then this ideally you connect to the vehicle. Kama unataka kucharge unakuja na cable yako yenye yukuja na gari, una connect kwa charger yetu, alafu una connect kwa gari yako, and you chill and charge. Unakunywa coffee yako, gari yako ikicharge, unafanya shopping, gari yako ikicharge.
Okay.
Baada ya kwenda petrol station.
Gharama ya kuwa na gari ambayo ni ya stima na gari ambayo inatumia mafuta, gharama gani iko juu zaidi kushinda mwingine?
Gari ya mafuta, for sure. Before this car nilikuwa na gari ya mafuta.
Naam.
Na nilikuwa natumia between 16,000 na 20,000 kwa mafuta. Hayo ni mafuta pekee in a month. Na hii gari natumia between 2,000 na 3,000 shillings in a month. Anafanya the same driving, actually more. Hizi gari za stima, service ni kidogo, hata hakuna service.
Hakuna service.
Wanafanya inspection. Service ni tire, brakes.
Hakuna engine oil.
Hakuna engine oil. Hakuna, the only oil ni brake fluid.
Brake fluid pekee.
That's the only oil.
Oh, sasa huwa hawaeki engine oil.
Hakuna engine.
Oh, hakuna engine.
So hawezi weka engine oil.
Jamani, sikuwa najua. Nitoe ushamba.
No.
Sawa. Na kwa kweli nilitolewa ushamba.
Hizi chaja zetu.
Naam.
Ile kitu inafanya kwa special, especially to me, ni tunaitengeneza from recycled materials. Unajua hakuna haja niseme naenda green, alafu kutengeneza charger natumia materials zenye don't make the environment green anyway.
Naam.
So hii charger ukiangalia inatengenezwa na recycled plastics. So at least 80% of the material up kwa hii charger ni recycled.
Naam.
Electronics, of course, most of it is not recycled. Some of it is recycled, but there's only so much you can do. So that's one aspect that we like about it. These are recycled materials tunazitoa Kenya. So made in Kenya and everything. The electronic components tunazitoa South Africa. Alafu tunazi assemble Kenya. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one incredible passion, and my passion for e-mobility. Nilikuwa nataka badala ya kununua kitu China ama America ama Europe, nisema wacha nitengeneze ndio ikwe ya Kenya. For Kenyans. So maana EV charger ndio jina.
Okay.
So this is in your bonnet.
Oh.
Kuna ukiangalia inakaa empty sana.
Iko empty.
Juu hakuna engine.
Hakuna engine.
So tuna inverter.
Inverter ndio gani? Unaweza kuigusa?
Ukweli sijui kama nakumbuka inverter ni gani. Kuna inverter na battery charger.
Battery charger. Sasa hii ndio.
Hii ni battery ya kawaida yenye uko nayo kwa gari.
Okay.
Hii ndio ya radio, lights na vitu kama hizo.
Naam.
Hapa chini ndio electrical motor.
Na mnakuanga na gearbox kweli?
Hakuna gearbox, kuna gear, okay, kuna gear handle. Lakini hakuna gearbox. Juu ukishaiweka drive hakuna gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, ni gear ni moja. Alafu the rest kaga ya kawaida una coolant na brake fluid. Na windshield
washer ya kawaida. Lakini niulize gari kama hii sasa, kwa sababu inatumia stima, kuna mtu mahali angesema inaweza kumpatia ile shock kwa sababu kwa sababu unaicharge hiyo electricity inakaa kwa gari, yani sielewi, sijui kama unaweza pia kutueleza.
Unajua vile au manufacturers vile wanatengeneza gari they make sure yani gari itakuwa safe. Juu siwezi shika hapa nipigwe shock.
Naam.
Ukiona hizi cables za orange, hizo ndio high voltage. Cables.
Hazifai kushikwa.
So wale watu wana service gari ndio wanafaa kuchunga. Juu sasa ile wanashika components wanaweza pigwa shock. So the main people ni wale watu wana service gari. Thankfully Digitobi engineers wametrainiwa na hii gari. So wanajua service. It's almost similar to hybrid. Hata hybrid ina battery, so lazima ukue mtu ana service hybrid, lazima ukue anajua kushughulika na stima. Na hii gari zile batteries, the big batteries ziko chini ya nini? Passenger seats.
Okay.
Down sina access.
Na niulize, magari haya yanakuja yakiwa mapya ama unanunua yakiwa second hand, inakuwaje?
Hii ilikuwa second hand.
Imetumika hapa nchini ama nje?
No, nilinunua from a dealer. Ilikuwa inatumika kufanya test drive. Sasa unaenda kununua gari, ile gari so ilikuwa almost brand new. Lakini unaweza nunua ikiwa second hand. Na najua watu huogopa, wanasema unajua nikao ukinunua simu second hand unasema hiyo charge, hiyo battery itakuwa imeisha. Lakini na technology siku hizi batteries zina last 20 years.
20 years.
Na sikumbuki I can't remember having a car nimekaa nayo 20 years. Most people wanakaa nayo 10 years, wanauza 10 years. So battery lasts more than 20 years. Kabla battery ishe, hii gari itakuwa most probably itakuwa itakuwa life yake itakuwa inakaribia kuisha pia.
Na umesema kwamba gharama yake kwa mwezi ni kama pesa ngapi hivi? Kiasi cha pesa ngapi nachotumia kucharge?
2000 and 3000.
Oh, 2000.
Na niko na app inaniambia how much natumia. This month so far nimetumia 1200 hapo.
Okay.
Which si mingi at all. Service in 2 years ni 11,000. So your cost of usage, cost of ownership ni kidogo sana.
Ni kidogo. Na kila kilicho na uzuri pia kina ubaya wake.
Nika simu kila nikifika home na i-plug tu. Battery size ya gari ni 35.8 kWh. Hiyo inaweza nipeleka ka 275 kilometers. So zile safari mimi hufanya ni labda Naivasha, Nakuru, Nanyuki. Hiyo ndo disadvantage ya electric car juu. Hiyo range yake haiwezi nipeleka mbali juu hakuna infrastructure.
Hauwezi fika Mombasa.
Siwezi fika Mombasa. Lakini na hii kampuni tunaanzisha hii EV charger. Plan yetu tukianza kuweka next year hizi fast chargers on major highways kama Mombasa Road, Nakuru, Nairobi Nakuru highway, itakuwa simple ku travel Mombasa ama ni kwenda Western Kenya or anywhere. Juu kazi yangu itakuwa tu kusimama na charge gari for 30 minutes, inaipatia 80% charge, alafu naendelea na safari yangu.
Na labda changamoto nyingine ya kuwa na gari kama hii ni kando na hiyo kutokuwa na places za kucharge.
Actually, naweza sema that's the main, hiyo ndo the main issue. Hiyo ndo the main issue worldwide, ndo maana watu wengi hawataki ku-convert from gas to electric juu kuna hii kitu inaitwa range anxiety. Wanaogopa wanaweza safiri alafu battery ishe.
Na kwa kuwa ni gari la kutumia umeme, sio rahisi kutoa chaja hii kwenye gari inapokuwa ikichaji. Lazima utaratibu ufuatwe.
Jua shock just before gari haiwezi kubali udisconnect charger until umeipatia signal at least umemaliza kucharge. For example, kufungua mlango ama hata kama mlango iko wazi, nikifinya unlock ndo itatoa power, communicate na charger itoe power, and from that na disconnect.
Waswahili husema utamu wa gari lazima ulipande. Sisi hao tunaamua kupata urodo wa kuliendesha gari la stima. Na siku ya leo tutataka kujua ni vipi mtu anaanzisha gari la stima ili kuweza kuliendesha barabarani, na tuko hapa ili kukujuza wewe mtazamaji pia zaidi kuhusiana na magari ya stima na jinsi yanavyofanya kazi.
Kuwasha gari ni kama gari ya kawaida. Kuna button hapa ina start engine or stop. So it's different than a normal car. Juu sai gari imewaka. So hakuna sauti, juu hakuna engine I guess. Yeah. Sa juu gari haina sauti, hii button ndo it makes a fake engine sound. Ndo usigonge watu ukizima. Hata inakwambia ausikii, nakwambia engine sound deactivated. So it's a natural normal sound.
Hapo angalia pale chini ni brakes
na accelerator. Alafu hizi gari zinakuanga za stima zinakuanga na acceleration instant sana. The torque is very instant. Juu ukifinya tu hivi gari inaenda. Juu zina communicate electronics.
Unaona kwamba Wakenya wanaweza kuyakumbatia katika ile hali ya kuyanunua.
Yeah, unajua si Wakenya tunakuanga tu tunapenda tunapenda inaitwaje technology. Ukiona vitu kama M-Pesa, we're the first people to start M-Pesa like or mobile money Africa-wise. And in terms of electrical vehicles, Kenyans, as long as waone kuna infrastructure yenye iko, they'll embrace it very positively. And I think there's a lot of hurdles, government, in terms of incentives, Kenyans will embrace. Lakini it's just small steps that need to be taken. Ndio wa Kenya will embrace electric cars like fully. Alafu watu udhani electric cars are so expensive. Hata ukiwa na 1 million unaweza nunua an electric car locally.
Gari kama hii inagharimu mtu kiasi cha pesa ngapi taslimu za Kenya?
It is a range between 2.5 million na 4 million depending na age na hizo vitu. Ukicompare na the exact same car lakini ile inatumia mafuta itakuzidisha bei na ka 300,000, between 300 600,000. So hiyo bei difference si mingi sana, na within 2 years ile difference you'll get it back from saving. Una save na mafuta, service uta save, na vitu ka like tires, brakes. Brakes situmiangi sana, ni engine motor ndo ina brake alafu ina recharge gari at the same time. Hata vile nilifanya service Ditidobi in January, ile kitu alikuwa naangalia tu kuangalia sana electronics na computer. Unajua siku hizi una connect tu gari na computer, inakuambia okay, battery iko sawa, hizo electronics ziko sawa, that's it. Alafu wanaangalia tu okay, ka gari ya kawaida, brakes ziko sawa, tires ziko sawa, brake fluid iko sawa, that's it. Waliniambia nirudi after 2 years. Nikamwambia hiyo hata nasikia 2 years ni mingi, wacha nirudi after 1. Wakasema sawa, wewe rudi after 1 year. Lakini it's very sijai kwa na gari nimeambiwa hakuna service.
Ni wakati ambapo tunajaribu iwapo gari hili ni la kasi, na ni kweli linaondoka kwa kasi, lakini bila sauti kama gari linalotumia mafuta.
It's braking and charging.
See, I've not even. I've literally not even.
You haven't touched the brakes.
The brake.
Oh.
See.
Okay.
If I'm driving normal and I'll show you, and I release the accelerator, depending on the setting I've put, it will brake automatically.
Oh.
Just like almost hybrid.
Okay.
So I'll show you. So now. So now I'm driving like normal. There's a bump ahead, right? So instead of actually using the brake, I just let go of the accelerator, and if you see, it's slowing down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's charging as well.
Ah.
Yeah.
How do you know it's charging?
There's an indicator here that you see the green.
The green.
That's charging.
Oh.
And the blue is using. Yeah. And it even tells you on the power flow.
Okay. Ukiachilia brake ina charge.
Ukiachilia brake unaona ina charge battery. So ndo natumia usage distance range yangu ina so.
Okay. That's drive.
That's drive.
Yeah.
Oh. So if you before you start, so there's D and B.
Yes.
So D gives you that braking by releasing your accelerator. If you are just on D, uta brake to gari ya kawaida.
Okay.
So D is the one for more efficient driving. So you can just maybe to start with, you can test with just
the D.
D.
Yes.
Kubreka gari kawaida. Alafu tukiendelea unaweza kwa B. So that you can get a feel of how it works.
Sawa, mtazamaji, andamana nami. Indication ni kama tu hizi zingine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just, okay.
Endesha tu alafu unaona ukirelease accelerator.
Oh, inasimama yenyewe. Mtazamaji, gari hili si kama ile magari ya kawaida. Nitasemaje, ukiondoa mguu kwenye brake, gari ukiondoa mguu kwenye accelerator, yani pale ambapo unakanyaga ndio gari iweze kupata kasi, inaacha yenyewe kutembea kwa sababu tumeweka katika ile drive mode ambayo ni B. Interesting. Alafu sasa unakanyaga accelerator. Hapa kuna kukanyaga mafuta. Gari hili halitumii mafuta. Sasa unatembeza gari. Kwa raha zetu. Waswahili husema tembea ndio uweze kuona mengi. Gari hili la stima ambalo ni mara yangu ya kwanza kuweza kuliendesha siku ya leo limenistajabisha, maana ukiwa kwenye barabara hauwezi kusikia mlio wake, tofauti ikilinganishwa na unapoendesha gari linalotumia mafuta. Fiona Kenga, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Here's the thing, in Eldoret today, the president is expected to walk into the devolution conference that is beginning officially today. For those of you who know where that ground is, then you know exactly where your 47 governors are essentially meeting today in Eldoret. So what we do know is that across all the counties in the country, the deputy governors have taken over office to run the affairs of the counties as their bosses then sit down to talk about issues that need to be addressed and spoken about so that you and I can start to feel the benefits of devolution. But then that's where the questions begin. Because then, if it's been 10 years since we got into devolution, have you felt the impact of devolution? Somebody asked this question, that if health is not fully devolved, if infrastructure development is not fully devolved, if education is not fully devolved, then what have these governors done over the past 10 years? If CDF is still a kitty that is run by members of parliament, then it's going to be hard for you to start saying that the governors have done 1, 2, 3, 4. This morning then, we want to table a discussion around areas that the national government, through the relevant bodies, and I'm talking about SRC and the control of budget, have essentially told the governors that you've got to fix. But they are not. Case in point, ghost workers, development, on-source revenue, and pending bills. Nat is the biggest one this morning. Join us then. I do have Dr. Mwangi. How are you doing, sir?
Very well.
I also do have Nabiswa. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir.
Good. Let's table this discussion like this then, Dr. Mwangi. That in reality, after 10 years, if devolution was going to work, us saying that we still need more time for it to take off is, in another way, us saying maybe it's not working or it has not worked. And we come from this perspective that some governors have seen their 2 terms, 10 years, they've gotten completely out of office. That means they've run down the constitutional limit for them to implement, start something and set it work. That if you're given 2 terms in a county government, that is 10 years down the line, we have to say that you're given more time to run your county, implement your projects, and see them off. But if we come back right here and say, we still have issues to discuss on it, that some counties have got nothing to show of, that we're still crying to the national government for resources to run these counties, that is, in other words, us saying it has not worked.
Has it not worked? Maybe they are saying it has not worked as well as we wished it to work. But clearly, if you can take a balanced scorecard across the nation, you will find some good practice somewhere. You'll find that certain services have been made available to mwananchi. You know, I am in the healthcare industry myself, and I know that there are counties up in the north that have been able to do surgical operations that could never have been done without devolution.
Yes.
So there is some progress in putting up infrastructure for health, but not as good progress in terms of managing healthcare personnel, not good progress in terms of delivery of the service, but some progress has been done. So if you do take a balanced scorecard, you'll say 10 years down the line, lessons learned. What lessons have we learned?
Is it too long to say that the only thing we've done after 10 years is picking lessons?
I think there is 47 counties. There are 47 urban centers, some of them becoming cities, like Eldoret,
yes,
like Nakuru,
yes.
You know, which have a good population of what you call middle class people. So you'll find that in those towns, you'll have big supermarkets, you'll have vibrant businesses, you'll find there are rental houses that are being put up and people are renting because they can afford. These middle class people would have been concentrated in the city. They are now working for the county government, and that means that there is more money available in the rural Kenya with these county headquarters that have come up. So for me, I would say we've made great progress in terms of decentralizing not only the government services, but also the private sector. You see investors going to the county headquarters to invest in housing, to invest in even water supply. Water supply has largely increased because, you know, these middle class people that are working in those areas have to be served properly. And therefore, in the context of water supply, it's better than it was, than it would have been. You remember, historically, we used to say water for all by the year 2000, and we didn't achieve. But now, because of of decentralizing even the water. Electricity, there has been more access to the grid across the country. Markets have been put up where people can trade.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll find the markets are put up and the traders are still on the road. Never mind about that, because I mean it's a cultural issue. But you can see that there is an attempt, or there is a progressive step in getting people trading even at the local level. So in my view, of course, when you start something, there is always what we call the teething problems. And the teething problems in the first 5 years of devolution, where the governors and the county governments went there with the mindset that we have to wait for Baba from headquarters, the national government, to give us money to run. 10 years down the line, they have had to realize, oh, if we wait for that, we have no salaries for our staff, services grind to a halt. So there has been a movement towards increase in what they are calling own revenue.
Yes.
And we've seen digitization of revenue collection. And some counties who have done digitization, you see their revenue go up. That means they begin to manage something. They begin to manage some resources. They begin to take control of their destiny, instead of waiting for the national government. So I would say that lesson of realizing you don't have to wait for Baba. You can make your own revenue. You can seal the loopholes. Is something that I think going into the future will make the counties work better.
Pretty much. I'll be coming back to you on where the bottlenecks are. Let me start like this, Nabeswa.
Yes.
If it's what we've seen in the past is that county governments have been fighting the national government, and specifically the National Treasury, to release their fair share of their funds early enough so these counties can run the functions as it is. Now, there's a man who's officially going to stick with these governors for the next 4 days. That is a president, Dr. William RUTO. He goes in at the back of the Senate opposing a proposal for these governors to have the county distribution of the fair share of the national money to increase. The senator said, we're not going to give you much of these monies. And you like to think that that must have been drummed in by President William RUTO, saying, well, they do not need as much as they are asking for. No wonder the Senate then lobbied against that money going to the counties. Do you think him being present there today will give us the drama that we need? The governors now have a chance to tell him, well, we need back our money.
Good morning, Elijah, and to our viewers. The issue of increase in the rate or percentage of revenue allocation to our counties is an issue that has been there, and it's one of the challenges that our county governments are facing. And whether the president went behind the back of the senators to oppose this bill, but we can see, like, all the governors are saying that they have received all the funds in the last month to run the affairs.
Albeit very late. If you do remember, majority of them were saying, we're going to close down the counties if you do not give us our money now.
But there were challenges. There were challenges of raising there were challenges of raising the funds, and we know everybody how we were told that there were no funds, and maybe they worked on their ways. When the finance bill came in, you remember it was in the court, but KRA went ahead to impose the 16% on fuel. So we might say maybe there was an issue of getting funds, and when they got an avenue of receiving the funds, they went ahead to disburse the funds to the counties. But Elijah, in the past 10 years, I must say, I have to say that devolution has really worked well for the country. And the best thing that our constitution gave us is a devolution. And when it comes to issues of allowing the local communities to run their own affairs, decentralization of governance, allowing people to participate in matters of governance and leadership, we have done pretty well. We can see issues around roads. Many counties, as we speak, they have opened up cutters of devolution. Yes. Education has done well, more so in terms of ECDs and youth education. You see, most counties have done training institutes, training colleges, and we are doing pretty well. Matters around agriculture, it's doing well. And we've also seen that devolution has really addressed the issues that the centralized system of governance would have not addressed, especially issues of curbing the inequality in resource allocations. Yeah, you could see we had some counties who even never had better hospitals, but now nearly every county has a level 5 hospital. And as Dr. said, you see in terms of innovation, you see Mandera, was it Mandera Garissa, yeah, where the first successful cesarean was done. They didn't even need to rush to Nairobi to carry out the exercise. It was barely done there. But we still have burning challenges, especially around the pending bills, revenue allocation from the county government, more so the increase from 16% towards 35% as it is stipulated in the constitution. We also have an issue of on-source revenue. Yes. And the biggest challenge we are having with the devolution is corruption. You see, most of our governors, they are owning properties offshore outside the countries, and we know what the governors earn. This is an issue which has to be really addressed. Another challenge where I feel that devolution has not done pretty well is on addressing the issues of the youths. You know, apart from those 2 nomination posts, it has not really worked well with the on matters youths.
Yes,
yeah,
pretty much. It's a good thing that we've set the stage. Now, Dr. Mange, let's then jump in. That even if we're going to develop the counties, that is the thinking of the governors, is that go back to the allocation of a fair share of the national revenue to the counties. In fact, number one, if you can start to talk about heavily then devolving some of these functions fully, and I'm talking about healthcare, education, and the rest of them, then the counties would have the ability and more resource from the national government to go back in and develop, cut their own ways. Now, when pro-Kenya Kwanza senators rejected that bill back in April to have the county revenue allocation increased by 22 billion, do you think the governors are going to look at the president and say, but your guys are the ones who beat the opposition in the Senate House? That's why we don't have more money to develop our counties. And do you believe that increasing county allocation revenue is essentially going to help these counties develop further?
I don't know whether the governors that are currently in office, and especially from the Kenya Kwanza side,
yes,
are able to face the president and ask him the question that why are we not getting more money? I think the president has created an environment where by you have to toe my line. The azimio governors, you know, the experience that the country has gone through in the last couple of months.
Yes.
I don't think in this conference we are likely to see governors really challenging the president. Whereas indeed, the counties will do better with increased allocation. And as they say, revenue should follow functions. There are many functions. I mean, I use the example of health, which is largely devolved. But if you look at the amount of money that the Ministry of Health headquarters, national government is handling, vis-a-vis the money available to the governors to run healthcare, it's ridiculous that the headquarters in Afya House would be managing such huge resources. Some of that money should be pushed to the front line for the counties to manage. We see the national government saying, look, we are going to help you employ what we call community health workers. We'll share, we've had the president say, we'll share and help. But it's because they are holding the money in the headquarters. You know, community health worker is a very primary, very important person at the local level.
Yes.
And the governor and the county health executive should be in a position, if they are going to manage healthcare, to be able to have, to hire and manage the community health workers. But they don't have the money. Some of the money is still in the headquarters. So, to say the least, and I think the governor should have I hope, I don't know, they should have the gut to tell the president, release the money for health. You know, why do you want to help us? We are capable of managing the healthcare function at the front. So money for functions. That is a matter that is there in the schedule, but a matter that has not been fully implemented, so to some extent. But having said that, and I want to agree with my brother here, one of the bad things that happened in devolution is to devolve corruption.
Yes.
You know, we saw in terms of procurement. That's why we have pending bills, huge pending bills. And every new governor who comes, they spend some immense resources to audit these bills, and then they discover some of the bills are not real. Others is poor procurement, deliberate, very deliberate. So we see people who became governors suddenly become billionaires, and we know their salary. So as much as very good thing has happened with devolution, and that's the best thing the Constitution gave us.
Yes.
Until and unless we deal with the problem of corruption, both at the national level and at the county level. And that's where we keep wondering, EACC. What is the role of EACC?
Yes.
You know, it's an organ that we created to help us fight corruption, because money is still being stolen. And by the way, it seems to be increasing in terms of corruption, in terms of the willingness even for the public to be involved in corrupt practices. We've seen it go up. And that is a cancer that is impeding the benefit of devolution.
Yes.
And to that extent, if we were to deal with that, we would see even bigger fruits of devolution. Talking about the youth, the burgeoning youth, really, it's a very sad state, to say the least, that maybe 10 years down the line, if we look at the number of jobs that have been created, vis-a-vis the number of young people that are coming out of school, as a nation, we should be ashamed of ourselves that we have not really addressed the most critical thing. We have a very well-trained youth. Never mind, even at the county level, they have increased the training, whether it's through TVET or the polytechnics. People are trained, fine. But what's the point of training people and then they are coming out without the necessary infrastructure? And that has to bring in the need for innovation. Some counties did well to create a national youth service like way to engage youth. And I think we should encourage that. As much as possible, you can use the labor. In the previous government, we saw kazi kwa vijana.
Yes, yes.
I mean the mtaani, ile ya mtaa. And I think it was a very good thing. The new government came in and removed that and said, let's plant trees. But what do we have? We have more youth who are not well engaged, and the little money they were getting is the money they would take to Gekomba to buy mtuba, is the little money they would use to buy little things in the shopping centers. And so the economic activity has gone down, especially in the last 2 years, so to speak. In the last 1 year, where this kazi mtaani has disappeared. And it was a very good innovation of engaging young people across the entire nation. And it was providing some needed revenue. Because if we do not address the problem and the challenge of unemployment among our young people, we are sitting on a time bomb. And I would hope that the governors, when they sit to discuss in the devolution conference, I hope one of the agenda will be, how do we engage our young people? How do we get them? And why are we having older people still being hired? You know, you retire from national duty elsewhere, then you get a job in the county level. Whereas we have educated young people who can do that job and learn and so forth. That must be outlawed.
Pretty much. Good. At this point, I want to engage Edwin Kigole, who's joining us online. I don't know, Edwin, can you get us, sir? Good morning.
Good morning. I can hear you, Simba.
Happy to have you around. I would ask our director to have his audio in the studio this morning so we can actually get to engage him as well. So here's a question that Mr. Kigole, briefly I want you to look at this morning. Now, but I want to put you directly into it, that today governors are going to walk into that meeting and the president is right there with them. And I'd like to look at it from two perspectives. We've seen this push and pull between the national government and the county governments in this respect, the impeachment that has befallen some of the deputy governors and governors in this new government. Do you think that any other governor today is going to look at the president and say, indeed, you also have to protect us in the Senate House? Talk to your senators so that they give us time to do our work. It's a bit too early for us to be running into impeachment motions.
Simba, it's ridiculous that such a question can come to the imagination of any governor, because the law is very clear. If you engage in illegalities, irregularities, misappropriation of public funds or plundering of public resources, then the law is very clear on what action should be done. And it is not the function or responsibility of the president to protect any governor from any senatorial mandate to inquire into and report on these irregularities as they may be forwarded to Senate from the county assemblies. So the governors should do what the law requires of them. They should comply fully with the Public Finance Management Act, which is always a thorny issue and one that would lead one into being taken to Senate to defend themselves. So when they go in the devolution conference and they are with the head of state, theirs is not to tell the president to protect them, but to ask to root for more resources and to ensure that counties are ready to or appropriate these resources in the intended manner, because sometimes we've had concerns as to the readiness and the ability and capacity of these counties to appropriate the resources seconded to them. So you will find some of them asking for more resources, yet they cannot conclusively account for the resources that have been allocated to them. You find a county allocating 0 or less than 10% of the budget given to it to development, meaning we cannot have new jobs, we cannot have any new infrastructure, we cannot have counties' productivity growing or booming. So these are some of the gray areas that the national government looks at and thinks some county governments are not ready to take up fully functions as spelled out by the Constitution.
Yes, pretty much. Mr. Kigoli, just because you're joining us a bit late, just before I go to Nabiswa in the studio this morning, how is it possible that they might not tell him to protect them when we've seen what has seemingly been a tug of war between the Kenya Kwanza senators and the Azimio senators in as regards the impeachment motions that have been held lately? And I'm talking about one for Governor Kawira Mwangaza and Deputy Governor for Siaya. It looked as if by the end of the day, the majority in the House essentially saved the two of them.
It defeats the defining challenge of the day.
Yes.
And what we should be focusing on right now is how to create and sustain economic growth, development, and turnaround.
Yes.
Not engaging in these sideshows of impeachment and all that. You look at Kawira Mwangaza, the governor, and you want to sympathize with her case. It was just recently that she was actually practically saved by Senate. And now it looks like she's also headed there. And this time, the allegations we've seen making rounds, especially in news media outlets, you find there are some serious allegations that are being leveled.
Yes.
So you look at the Siaya situation, and it brings into sharp focus the issue of the deputy governors thinking they can be governors at the same time they have a governor in place. If you know that you cannot run a county with the current governor, and then you do the honorable thing, resign and wait for your time and seek fresh public mandate. So if you're given a mandate to run, so like William Oduol, he's been given a mandate to assist Governor James Orengo, he should be statesman enough and support Orengo in terms of delivering on a county. That does not mean that William Oduol should close or blind his eyes on, say, illegalities that are being committed. He should speak out, but then again, can he justify that he's exhausted all the avenues available in the county internal organs to resolve any differences before he comes out and people will want to interpret him as trying to seek political leverage or trying to score some political points so that he looks like he's the cleanest man. Yet we know probably he's just coming out to earn some political scorecard. So what we need to be focusing on, and my urge to governors and their deputies is, can they work together? Can they have this, like supportive relationship than one which is out just to cause a lot of chaos and, fight a lot? So you see they'll fight and fight and fight, like the Wambora case. He was taken to Senate, saved, taken to Senate, saved. So it looked like a circus. And by the time the 5 years are over, you find they have delivered close to nothing. And county systems are not functioning well. Resources in terms of, ensuring the services are delivered, they are not being accounted for. So what they should be focusing on in the devolution conference now is, can they account for the resources that have been sent to county governments? Can they say our systems are functioning well? Can they say that access roads have been made and now movement of goods and services is efficient? Can they say that hospitals that are under the purview of the county government are properly manned, are properly medicated, like there is medicine in there? We have got facilities that people don't have to worry about where to get, say, a CT scan and MRI scans and everything that would make health sector function elaborately.
Pretty much. Mr. Kigoli, a lot of issues by there we're going to get into, because I think we're pointing out to some areas then that essentially require for us to talk about this morning. Nabiswa, let's change it like this. You see, if we're going to talk about devolving healthcare, and that has been a push and pull between the national government and the county government, we had to tell the president to stop that coup. it means that they have him right there for the next 4 days, as from today onwards. What is this that is going to take the president 4 days at the devolution conference, if indeed we are saying we want to be fully devolved? What is this weight that's going to make the president sit there for 4 days? What is this thing that the president wants to see?
Okay, first, Elijah, you see, devolution, we might say that 10 years are enough.
Yes.
If it was a trial and error exercise to see if it works, but 10 years are more than enough to give, to fully devolve all the services that are required.
Yes.
But, you know, the challenges that we are having, we know, out of the 47 counties, we might have around 5 which are doing the right thing. But a number of them, they are not totally not complying with what should be done. And all these issues revolves around funds. You know, you devolve more funds, you have to give more funds.
That's it.
You devolve more services to the counties, you have to give more funds to the counties. But now, the challenge that have to be addressed, the main challenge is an issue around increased disbursement.
Yes.
But now,
which they've been clear they're not going to get.
Yeah, but
yes.
Okay, they will not get. But you know, from where I sit, I see when this 15% is increased, in a way, it will encourage laziness in our counties. We started by talking about mentioning something about the on-source revenue. Elijah, we are aware, most of our counties don't even get 50% of the projection of what they have to collect from their counties. And we know that.
Out of that, their numbers, just out of the 57 billion that the on-source revenue essentially targets, all the counties, 47 of them, in the financial year 2021-2022, only 6 billion came back in. So a deficit of 51 billion that they do not know where they're going to get from.
You know, I think there is an issue of equalization. You know, there are some counties which don't even have, let's say, the resources disposal at Mandera, at Wajir County, yes. It's not the same as the one in Kakamega, Kisumu, or Nairobi. So it has to balance. And some of these revenues also contributes to our national operatives kitty.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if a governor, I'll give an example. Nairobi has to collect, if for example, Nairobi has to collect 2 billion. And you are giving, whatever is allocated from the national government, you are giving the governor more. You know, the governor will not put in a much effort to collect from what he has to collect from the county. And you see, most of the governors fear of enforcing the collection. You know, they will tell us about the mechanism, the avenue and the mechanism of collecting the resources. It's not that clear. But the major reason why I feel is they fear. Because you go to your people, squeezing them much to give, yes. In terms of collection and county revenue from the people, it will work against you because they feel this governor, we elected him, but he's exploiting us. Yeah. So, what the national government, I feel,
yes,
fears is that they fear to devolve more services because they don't want to give much. And also, this issue of increase in allocation, we have seen how the little they have, the 15% they have, most of them, they are not using it in a right way. And we know what is happening, what happens in the counties. You hear, I'll give an example of Bungoma where wheelbarrows were purchased at, a wheelbarrow was purchased at 100,000. I don't know if they were these tuk-tuks or vehicles. You hear a governor buying, a deputy governor buying a chair of 100 million, you hear a gate of 1 billion being constructed. So they are not able to use whatever they have in an effective way.
So, but who are we to question it? Nabiso, who are we as the national government to question how these counties are spending the money? The constitution envisions that these are independent run governments within the country. So the only thing that you gotta do is look at the constitution and say, we have to give them 30% and do it continually as per the law.
It's up to 35%,
yeah,
but depending on the resource the disposal. You know, Elijah, you cannot continue if you are giving me money and you yourself, you've seen how I'm spending that money. Will you give me more?
But you've been told you have to give Simba this money. But it is Simba's money.
You know, there are many governors, many counties. They're not using that money in an appropriate way.
Yes.
We have the county assemblies which are there because they have been pocketed. We know what happens. The first thing, the MCS will let the governor, we will support, but you have to give us this. The county assemblies themselves, they are not putting their governor on, they are not fully putting their governor and their executive in an accountability, because they have something they are getting out of that.
Yes.
We have had county corruption cases. Until now, none has been recovered. So why will I ask myself, why will the national government increase what they have when they cannot spend what they have in an appropriate way?
Dr. Mwangi, I want us to weigh in on this. There's a question that Nabiswa, I don't know, they avoided to answer me.
Yes.
What is the president going to do in that conference for the next 4 days? What is this that we do not know? I'm not a governor. I'll tell you what the problem has been from the central government. They're talking about a lot of corruption at the county levels. You guys are not following the law. The PFM Act, you're not essentially following it. And the governor is also saying, well, devolve everything and give us more money according to the constitution. Stop meddling with our affairs. Done. There's 4 issues. If you're going to address them, will it take you 4 days as a president, waking up every day to consider that conference?
Well, I think the president we have, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is a man who is a hands-on person. I think we've seen a president who is hands-on. We have seen him travel from county to county. What has he been doing during the last 3 weeks? He's been to central Kenya, spent 5 days, Rift Valley, so many days. Now, here is an opportunity where all the country is together. In those 4 days, I think, for me, I would say it's a good thing he's doing, because assuming that in that conference, there are presentations that are being made to showcase best practice, and there are round tables being conducted to discuss the issues. By being there, he will get first-hand knowledge himself of what exactly are the issues at the county level. And I think it is a good thing to get to understand what are the problems, so that when he comes back, those 4 days, instead of spending 5 days in Mount Kenya region, another 5 days in Nyanza, another 5 days, in 4 days, you have the opportunity to get to know. And I think being a hands-on person,
Dr.
and if I give him the credit that he wants to do a good job, I think it's a good opportunity to get to hear. And assuming that the issues you take there, he'll come back and process them, then it would mean that in the next 5 years we can see better governance. Remember, the biggest issue is governance. The biggest issue, of course, corruption is part of governance, but they are the nitty-gritty issues of how do we turn this economy around. We are in a country at the moment where the economy is at a standstill. And if you can take his pet subject, which is fertilizer and agriculture, and turning around the agriculture in our country would be very, very beneficial. So for me, I would not fault him for being there. Where else could he be if we are talking about sorting out the problems of the country?
But the governors have already told him the only issue that they have with him, number one, is that we need the money released as fast as it can be released. We need all the other services that are devolved for the national government not to touch on them. Case in point, healthcare sector. They have already said it, Dr. Mwangi, that regardless of you sitting there for 4 days with them, they have already told you what you need to do. Done and dusted. They haven't come back to you and tell you the problems that they have in Kajiado or whatever it is. They're telling you it's only two. Leave devolution to function 100% in its entirety, and now money that needs to come from the national government. Please do not delay it because it's affecting our service delivery. Done and dusted. So what is he going to say that he hasn't said to them?
I would like to see what he's going to say rather than what he's going to hear.
to use it where
he can use his 2 ears.
Yes. To use it where?
Double than what he can use his mouth on.
Yes. They've already said it. They've already said it. They've already said it. They've not had any problem with President Dr. William RUTO. The only problem they've had with him is, please do not touch healthcare. It is a devolved function. We're in charge of those pharmacies and community healthcare workers. Leave them to us. And number two, this money that you're supposed to release it as fast as you can.
I think, to be fair to him, the issue about the money for healthcare, it is not like he has come in and cut it. He has just come in and continued the way he and his former president, because they were in office, were doing. And remember, he was the chair. The deputy president is the chair of the forum of governors that agree on how much money to go. So he was the chair, and therefore the design of how much money goes for healthcare, which is much less than it should be, he was the chair. So he hasn't done anything different. Maybe, and I'm saying maybe he would like to understand what is this you want to do with the money, and why is that county?
Yes.
Why is that county doing better than this one?
But no anchored, but not completely anchored within law. So even if you understand it,
yes.
Even if I buy 1 million gate, there's nothing you're going to do about it as the president.
No, we have, the Constitution has created institutions.
Yes.
Constitutional offices. For example, as a county government, if you have not properly accounted your money, the budget office and the revenue allocation office, I mean, you don't get your money. So it is not the president, it is the Constitution, the way we have designed. There is a way in which, in fact, I wish the constitutional offices would work the way they were designed. Some of those counties should be denied money so that they fix the problem before they get the money. And it is not the president. I mean, I think as Kenyans, we have also confused ourselves. Does the president decide how much money goes to the county? Really, the way we designed our constitution, the budgeting is in the National Assembly. That is where revenue is distributed. The budgeting, there's a budget office that is supposed to work. But Kenyans, we have been caught up with the former ways where the president decided. So the constitutional offices have refused to stand up and say, this is what we'll do. Even the question of Senate being told, don't increase by the executive. It means it's a Senate that doesn't know its job. So I want to hold, for me, constitutional offices to account. It's not the president's business to decide how much money goes. it is the constitutional office, it is the parliament,
yes,
together with the budget office,
yes,
and then the county, the revenue allocation commission,
yes,
and then there is the auditor general who is auditing and asking questions and saying, if you don't clarify this, the Senate is inviting governors, some of them are refusing to go, or they go and give very flimsy excuses and they get away with it.
Yes.
I think for me, I'm angry with our constitutional offices for refusing to stand for what we wanted them to be, so that all Kenyans, we still continue to talk about the president, the president, the president, and we wanted to devolve power and give ourselves an ability to decide without being run by one man.
I will tell you, but I want to engage Mr. Kigoli shortly. I will tell you who tried to threaten the governors that if you don't settle your bills, then I won't give you your money. Guess who that was? Ukur Yatani, former Treasury Cabinet Secretary. And this is what he said, that if you don't settle your pending bills, then that money will not come. Guess what? That did not happen. So let me ask this question as I wait for Kigoli to come back online. Nabiswa, is the controller of budgets, those reports that we normally see, SRC actually visits these counties and says that you gotta pay people like this? Are they toothless dogs in the sense of governors, as it currently is, are untouchable? That's why to date, really, when we're talking about governors who've been impeached, you can only count one 10 years down the line if you don't look at the Kiambu situation. Yes. Are they untouchable? And these national bodies, which you like to think then, should the president want to say anything, is going to talk to them. These national bodies, talk to Treasury, talk to SRC, talk to the control of budget, you know, that it can't do anything unless these bodies are then empowered to do whatever Ukur Yatani, former CS Treasury, was telling these governors, that if you don't settle those bills, your next allocation, no coming.
You know, Elijah, the problem we are having is that we are not allowing this independent, we are not giving the fully independence of our independent bodies to do their work. You see, the problem majorly is having a political right and overprotection. We take an example. In the previous regime, some governors were impeached, some were not impeached. Okay, in fact, those who were saved by the Senate, they had more weighty issues which would have amounted to being charged, but they were saved majorly, or the reason was they are in the right political vehicle.
Yes.
We'll give an example. I'll take an example of the former governor, the second former governor of Nairobi. We saw him coming out trying to fight, as he said, fighting cartels and corruption within the county and city hall. But at the end of the day, he's the one who was impeached for being corrupt. You know, the major issue here is he was not in the right political side. Yeah, and these independent bodies, they're doing very well in terms of carrying out the exercise of investigation, giving recommendation. But now the problem is when there is a hand which usually comes in to corrupt the whole idea of independence. SRC will do their work, ESCC will do their work, DCI will do their work. But at the end of the day, as we know, a call will come from above. The case will be stuck. We've seen governors who 10 years down the line, theft was there. They cannot even account for the resources. They did their own, they spent money in their own ways. But because they were in the right political side, they can't be touched. So we need to have a system where the independence of our state organs is fully allowed. They're allowed to do their work. Whether you are the president's brother, where you are his closest ally, let those bodies carry out their exercises, do their work, and it will be a lesson. You know, like a governor will see today, he has not complied. As Daktari said, he didn't follow the constitution in spending funds. Now, after smelling the rat or sees that he has done something wrong, he will run to the president and be a friend. When the issues now comes in limelight, already he is a friend to the president. He say, oh, this and this has happened, save me, and it has happened. This is the reason why there is no any single governor who has been found guilty or who has been charged for the past 10 years for misappropriation of funds and doing all those working or flouting the, operating outside the constitution. Yeah.
That's it. Guess what? Once we come back, gentlemen, there's a bigger question now then that essentially every other Kenyan is asking. That a governor is untouchable in the sense that because I'm running a county government, I just need to be on the right side of the members of the county assembly. So regardless of what happens at these county assemblies, if they do not get to the Senate, guess what? Totally untouchable. So that's why to date, even when we talk about corruption, when we talk about ghost worker issues at the county levels, when we talk about pending bills, some people say that we can promise you, you're going to talk about them forever because the code is known. Get into office, shake hands of MCAs, done and dusted. You can sit back and relax. Once we come back then, the further question that I'll be going back to Dr. Mwangi again is 4 days of the president sitting with the governors. Is it an interpretation of I want to know what you're doing, or I want to be part and parcel of the decisions that you're making? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift online and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms, I am at Kiageshiba.
Today we are hosting the RUTO Foundation as they do a food distribution to the community. The community involves people from Huruma. Huruma is where we have the home for the aged. So quite a population from the home are getting the gift packs. Most of our children come from Githogoro and Huruma. These are informal settlements. Honestly, these parents have not been working. The number of children that will come to me, even the ones who are not in school, and tell me, Mwalimu, we have not fed for 3-4 days, is quite huge. So this will go a long way. A family that has not fed for 3 days, they will at least get a meal. We also thank RUTO. This is the second time that you're coming, and it always makes a difference. It always makes a difference.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray, pray, pray. Pray.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university, and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158, or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
We're still on, and the question then is, if the conference is 7 days, does the president need to be there for 4 days? Now, yesterday, Hungry Tende ran a story about this particular conference, highlighting some of the biggest issues then that were going to be spoken about in this particular conference. And this is what he called the story. He essentially called the story, and I'm trying to pull up from our script this morning. He did call it the Devolution at 10. Now, preparations for this year's Devolution Conference to mark 10 years of devolved governance are complete. President William RUTO is expected to officially open the celebration today, which will be held in Eldoret Stadium in Uasin Gishu County. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and former United Kingdom Prime Minister Tony Blair are some of the keynote speakers who will address the conference. Our reporter Henry Tendet looks at the last touches on the preparations ahead of the official opening and files the following report. Let's take a look at that particular story, come back and talk about it, because indeed some of the notable speakers in this are even former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. Let's take a look at it.
An aura of music and performances as part of entertainment segment ahead of Wednesday's Devolution Conference. The tunes are clear indication that its systems go in terms of preparations for the Devolution Conference to mark 10 years of the journey under the new constitution. As it has now become the norm, governors and senators staged a football showdown on the eve of the conference on Tuesday, a game that saw senators emerge victorious with a 3-0 goal margin.
It's been a nice day from the morning, but the special highlight for today was, of course, the match. We always look forward to the match between the Senate and COG. The purpose of it is actually team building and creating that mood and environment for devolution, working together in this space of devolution. So it's really not a very serious competition, though it is a competition. We didn't do as well as we wanted, but we are going to be practicing now for the next one.
This was a very good game. At least the main objective was achieved, because what we want is to bond with senators. And I know now going forward, especially for the conference, we have actually broken the ice, and that was the objective of the game. We have managed to bring everybody together, the governors and the senators. So what I can say is, in as much as we lost, but we lost honorably and achieved the objective of bonding.
I mean, performing arts, film, theater, they have not received the attention they deserve in the counties. When you look at the budget for sports, counties are not giving sports the right allocation.
President William RUTO is expected to officially open the devolution conference on Wednesday. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair will also grace the event. On Thursday, former Prime Minister, who is also the leader of the opposition coalition Azimio Raila Odinga, will issue a keynote address, while Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will address the conference on Friday before officially closing the event. Eldoret Stadium in Uasin Gishu will be the venue for this year's celebration, and this tent is ready to receive visitors, with a big number of governors and senators already in town for the function. This year's theme is 10 Years of Devolution, Present and Future, which aims to encourage development of the country from grassroots level all the way to the national stage. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Those were the preparations for the particular conference. Got a friend of mine, his name is Jeff, saying the only thing that it was a spectacle there is seeing the senators and governors playing football. So nothing, essentially, is going to come out of this conference. And this is what he says: governors ndio wale wale, MCAs ndio wale wale. So hapo tuende tuone hiyo ball na hiyo story imeisha. Jeff, I do not know, man. As know me, as Jeff. Anyway, so if indeed the president is going to be there for 4 days, Dr. Mwangi, you would like to think that us, as Kenyans, there's some issues that we've seen in this county governments that are a bit worrying. That the controller of budget keeps on giving us this report. She would give a damning report about a particular county. That, oh, we have wheelbarrows that are going for 100,000. We have a gate that is going for 1 million. Or we have this number of ghost workers in this particular county. But then you know what? Nothing happens. Because county governments are essentially fully operational governments that are run by MCAs. The MCAs are the ones who call off some of these practices in the counties. So now the code is simple, Dr. Mwangi. Be on the right side of the MCAs. You as a governor will survive anything imaginable. So the president being there is essentially not going to stop some of the issues that we're talking about here. Case in point, pending bills. That if a governor feels so that I want to pay these pending bills, unless the MCAs bring up that motion and say, our county government, case in point, like Mombasa County, that essentially the governor left with pending bills worth 4 billion shillings. That until the MCAs say, there's a motion we floated today, let's talk about how this county needs to pay these 4 billion worth of pending bills. That the president being available, president speaking about best practices. As long as you have your MCAs in pocket, just like Nabizo was saying, if you can give them something, you're good to go. You can do anything that you want. None of these reports, ESCC, the likes of the control of budget, the likes of DCI, that they will do nothing to stop a governor who wants to do anything possible in the county.
So that is the situation as it is today. As a governor, if you want to survive, you put the MCAs in your pocket. You heed to the demands of the MCAs, and that sometimes to the to the detriment of Mwananchi, because the money that is supposed to go for development and for other things, if a governor is clear in their vision, then it gets used to managing MCAs. Is that how we want devolution to progress from here? Therefore, the need for a conference like this to look at issues like those, and also now that we are also having this national dialogue that is now going to be anchored in law, those are issues we need to talk about. We cannot have a country where a governor, the executive of the county, is held ransom by MCAs. That is not something that we anticipated in our constitution, and therefore there needs to be a change in the architecture of how we do things. In my view, the county assembly we should get to a point where the county assembly is funded directly in a county so that they have the independence that they need, because the role of the county assembly should be to check the excesses of the executive in a rational manner. But as it is now, MCAs and county assemblies are dependent on the county executive, and therefore the governors to fund them and so forth. Just like we see sometimes the National Assembly holding the national government at ransom. You know, we have seen them telling Treasury, if you don't release the NCDF, we are not going to pass this budget. So they twist. We need to get to a point where the way our constitution should work best is that the MCAs should oversight the governor, but they should have their own funding so that they are not dependent on the governor to give them the money they need. So they budget their own money, and therefore then they do the job of legislation. Therefore they do the job of checking the excesses of the executive. That doesn't mean that the politics will end in terms of the governor needing to manage the politics of the MCAs. That will always be there. However, if our constitutional offices worked, because what is it? It is corruption. It is still those arm twisting by the MCs. That's corruption. It is corrupting the system. It is defrauding Mwananchi from what is rightfully ours. People taking advantage of their positions, either in the legislature or in the executive, to do things for themselves rather than for Mwananchi. So I would imagine and I would hope, as the devolution conference goes on, I want to agree that maybe if the devolution conference is 4 days, I don't think the president should be there 4 days. He should be there as much as possible to get to understand and to hear. But when you are the big boss, as he is, it is unlikely that there will be a healthy conversation with the right critique when the big boss is seated there. But having said that, being there is the right thing. To hear even what Tony Blair will say to the governor when he's there. He's an eminent person to hear. But I don't imagine that Dr. William Ruto will be there to hear what Right Honorable Raila Odinga will say during his day. Because constitutionally he's supposed to be there. The official leader of opposition, or the leader of the minority, is supposed to have his day. Because remember, how many governors are azimio? There are many.
So many of them, in fact.
So, probably the majority. And therefore, I would not expect that the president will sit there and listen to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, just like I don't expect Right Honorable Raila Odinga to be there during the opening.
And listen to the president.
Or even the president to be there to listen to his deputy closing. So I don't know. I think he should be there, but he should also allow the governors and the participants
Yes.
to have the freedom
Yes.
to express themselves, to critique, to make suggestions.
Pretty much. All right, let me bring in Mr. Kigoli before I cross over to you. Nabiso, Kigoli, that particular question right there that Dr. Mwangi is presenting, that it's this simple, that indeed county governments and the governors are untouchable. That if you look at this particular report, I mean, the SRC is mandated to go to these county governments and explain to them how they're supposed to pay, how they're supposed to onboard workers into their various ministries. Fine. The controller budget comes in and writes damning reports about these county governments on exactly how they're spending their money, how they're spending, who they're spending it with, and the rules that they are flouting. But then Kigoli, here's the thing that is coming up, that as long as you're in the right side with the NCS, you'll never get impeached. Even a motion to settle pending bills will never be an issue that you will see within your 10 or 5-year term. Is that true? And how do you think this is an issue that the governors are going to solve in this conference?
Well, it's ridiculous to think that they are untouchable, because in what sense? All right, we have the laws, the rules and regulations to be followed in managing county affairs.
Yes.
But then again, you find that the control of budget, the role is to, check and see that budget lines are well followed and resources are prudently managed. And the control of budget doesn't have constitutional or prosecutorial powers. Theirs is to do reports and make public how public funds have been appropriated. There are other established institutions in this country, such as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. We have, oversight boards. We have the Senate. We have the County Assembly, assemblies around, so that they can, check on the excesses of the executive in the county government. And we've seen some governors fall to these oversight functions. We saw Governor of Kiambu, former Governor Kiambu, and former Governor Nairobi, Mike Sonko, and Babayao Waititu. They fell to these oversight roles and functions. So I do not think county governments are untouchable, because nobody is untouchable in this country. Even the president can be impeached, but
yes.
Just that the process is tedious and hectic and deterring.
Yes.
But for governors, it is easily achievable. If MCS can gang up easily, they impeach you like yesterday and you're gone. So if you're impeached, then you go to Senate, you pray to your God that your lawyers can argue out a good case and make a formidable defense that will convince senators, and that could take a political angle. We saw there was a story that ran about Raila Odinga sanitizing Anne Waiguru when she came up against the impeachment in Senate. And indeed, she was sanitized, because if not for that sanitization, she could have been impeached. But then again, as I said, governors hold political offices, and these political offices are swayed by politics largely.
Yes.
So you find to survive an impeachment would require some sense of political goodwill. If then you can convince people, especially the politicians in the Senate, and they agree with your case, then you're fine and home and dry. But why, or the question is, why do we always get ourselves in this spot? It is because some county governors hardly read Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution. Some of them just wish it away. Some of them wake up and make decisions that are so ridiculous, that are so flawed in law and process, and these will always put them up against these impeachment processes. So nobody is untouchable. No county is untouchable. And when they have an opportunity to interact with the president,
yes.
I think at this particular point in time, on those thorny issues that they might not want to talk about them clearly, they can leverage on their counterparts in the opposition. That's why you need, if much as there are political differences, it shouldn't go to the extent of personalizing it, because you just don't know who you might need at the next corner you want to negotiate. So at this point, a governor from the opposing side can come and, lay bare some serious challenges that county governments are facing, that the governors in the ruling coalition might not have the courage or the confidence to talk about plainly and put them to the president. Because that is one national opportunity they have to make the president understand the pains that they go through in their counties. But then again, the president will ask questions about how do you manage resources that have been seconded to you? And have you been prudent in their management? Can we say that the 11 billion that we sent, say, for example, Kakamega County, has been used well in agriculture, has been used well in manufacturing, value addition, and has helped, to improve the infrastructure around early childhood education development? So when you ask these questions, and also for access road infrastructure, this question, and if a county governor can come and say, look at my county, we have done X kilometers of access roads, we have done this in agriculture, we have empowered young people in skills and vocational trainings. So when you lay these facts bare to the president, and now you say, Your Excellency, with the capacity we have, if you add us these functions and second to them X number of resources, we believe the county government of blah, blah, blah can do very well. And if you can answer the initial questions of how you've utilized the resources that have been seconded to you, you have got no moral or even political authority to ask for more resources. Because if your capacity is only 500 million, why are you asking for 1 billion?
Yes.
So it means if we give you 1 billion and your capacity is 500 million, there is a high likelihood that these monies could be spent. And we do not want to waste public resources. We want to direct every coin to where it is going to be accounted for. And when the country is grappling with the issues of cash constraints and fiscal constraints, we have to be prudent in the management of available resources. And I'm happy that my colleague was raising a very fundamental point of the on-source revenue. When you look at most of our county governments and the revenues they earmark to collect, some of them fall way below half of that projection.
Yes.
When you try to interrogate why they don't collect as they should, you find there are serious lapses in collection systems. There is no serious accountability in those who are collecting. At this time and age, what we should be focusing on is to fully digitize collection systems of revenue, because this is going to eliminate possible collusion and losing of resources in between. Because if you just send somebody to walk around and collect at hand, if there is possibility, maybe you could miss a shop, could miss an enterprise that it should be collecting from, or could collect and fail to disclose everything they collected. But if you're running on a system, everything is integrated, and you want to collect, it is very easy to follow and determine that how many have paid, how many have not paid. So county governments should also be innovative in the way they collect taxes, and not just comprehensively impose taxes that are difficult to collect.
Pretty much. Mr. Kigoli, just before I cross over to Nabiswa, the question this morning is, should the president be there for 4 days? Just quickly, in a minute, before I cross over to Nabiswa.
Devolution Conference is an important function in the Republic of Kenya. This is as a result of the 2010 Constitution. I do not think the president should sit there for 4 days, because we also need him around to do and respond to other key functions of the country. And
I did lose him right there. It's a good thing that we actually get to listen to his point before we unfortunately lost him. Now, Nabiswa, the question then again becomes, do we need to go back to what Ukur Yatani was telling these governors? That look here, I'm not saying that I don't want to give you this money. I'll give you the money. But here's the thing, if by the end of the financial year, again, I hear that they're pending bills in your county government. If the COG is going to tell me that, then I will not release these funds to you, which essentially means we'll be changing the law. It was tried, it failed. Does the president need to tell them that? Because he's a president who's riding on the hustler narrative. All right? It's like all the youth should do business to the county governments that we're here to make your businesses better. Do you think today is the best day for him to say, look here, clear those pending bills, if you can?
First, Elijah, I'll totally agree with you on that one. The issue of pending bills, it's one of the weighty issue or the weighty matter which is affecting our county governments. And sometimes we wonder what is happening because funds have been allocated. The county has allocated funds, they have made their budgets. They know what they have to do and they know what they get as a budgetary allocation.
Yes.
So I presume it's their own negligence that because they have found a contractor who can do work and they have negotiated some credit limits, so they divert those funds somewhere. Now, this is the right thing that I think the parliament or the executive or the regulatory bodies should ask the county government, because those people who have worked for the county governments, I know many of them who are still expecting payments and it has not happened. It should be a priority that the government, the county government should be clearing the pending bills as soon as possible to create an environment for the business between the public and the county governments. You mentioned about the issue of the youths. You know, we know, Elijah, as Dr. mentioned earlier, most of our county governments have been the retiring home for most of the public servants. Someone will work at the age of almost nearing retirement, he goes to the county, is given a position there, he's given a contract with the county to do a particular exercise. Youths, we are vulnerable. We are not getting those opportunities. So the president should give a directive or should ask the county government, because now the national government and the county government, these governments should work together for easy implementation of their mandate and objectives. For the 4 days, the president should be is there, and within the 4 days, I think it should provide a platform for the audit of what has happened for the last 10 years, what good things have come out of it, and what are the bad things that has happened, and what should be improved. Especially on the area of some of the services which needs to be devolved and they are still being held at the national government. We understand, maybe Daktari can expound on that, on the issue of health services. You know, some of the sectors or some of the services, they are controlled. They have a regulatory bodies. Sometimes I ask myself, how will you have, especially like the Kenya Dentist Board or the Kenya Medical, those are boards that regulates, boards in the country that regulates different stakeholders in the medical field. Now, we will have Nairobi having their own board. We have another one in Kisumu having their own board. Now, how will this board in Kisumu regulate another service in Nairobi? So there are some of the services which have to be relooked on. If they are devolved, will it affect some other counties, or which mechanism that can be put in place so that if that service is devolved, it will not affect one county or another. So also, we look at the employment system in our counties. Like right now, Elijah, most of the employment, you rarely found someone who comes from a different county being employed in one county. Now, I'm taking a case whereby we have some counties which have 2 or 3 medical doctors or surgeons.
Yes.
Now, if we say that we are devolving, that we understand that the nurses are fully devolved, and then the doctors, some other services which are not, you will find that it will be difficult to get a service provider in the field from another county, because these people will say, now, we need our own. Yeah? You are bringing someone from other areas, and where are we? Yeah? The major issue that has to be addressed, I think, corruption, pending the issue of pending bills, and on-source revenue. These are the 3 things I think within the 4 days should be relooked at and should be addressed by the president.
Pretty much. Dr. Mwangi, just let's touch on these issues. You said the theme is going to be looking back. If indeed we're going to look back, then we have to look at devolution in its entirety. Because a county that is saying that we've met steps in devolution, that means that even on our own source revenue, we have grown it. That we are county, that we can prove that we are county government, that we figured it out. Why is it then that all the way 10 years on the line, out of a projection of 57 billion that is supposed to be essentially raised by these county governments, we're still talking of them being at a paltry 6 billion. Shouldn't we start from there? Is that not where we should start from? Enable these counties or put these governors on task to explain why they have not been able to give us this money, even before we continue with the rest of them.
Yes, a very fair point, really. For 10 years down the line, for counties collecting own source revenue at less than 30% of what is expected is very poor performance, and it will continue to be poor if the counties continue to get their fair share from the national government fully.
That's it.
Should they not get just the percentage of what they have raised? You have raised your own source revenue at this percent. This is what you deserve to get. We give you this percent. You know, in governance and in anything, there must be accountability.
Yes.
There should also be an element of incentives. As long as, if I know I wake up in the morning and I sit at home and I am employed somewhere, at the end of the month I get my salary, what is the incentive to go to work? You know? So the conversation at the devolution conference, looking back 10 years, is this big issue of own source revenue.
Yes.
Where is that money going? Is it possible that some money is being collected and ending up at the pocket of some governor somewhere or his crony somewhere? I think so. That needs to be checked. Is it that the systems to collect the money are not there to account for every shilling? Yes, I think so. How do we fix that? Which county has made progress? What have they done? Can we take that best case and apply it across the entire counties? So we need to examine the issue of accountability on own source revenue. Number 2, we need to check even the whole issue of the pending bills. I think it is very immoral and very insensitive, I don't know which word to use, for someone, a contractor, to go to a bank, borrow money, to do a road, having won a tender, and then they are not paid for 5 years, 6 years. What happens? I know some who have been auctioned. I know some who are really going into business and they were doing well, but they did this business with the county government, and at the end of the day, they are bankrupt. How do you help an economy? Doesn't this show governors or governor system in our counties that do not understand how a country runs, how an economy works? An economy works by me being given work to do and being paid within the reasonable time. And I think the law, there is a law. You're supposed to be paid within a certain period, after which interest should be earning.
Yes.
But it is not even earning, because Kenyans have found themselves helpless. This issue of pending bills, in my view, and although we want to put it to the president, now that he's the president, he should push this agenda.
Yes.
And the need to clear pending bills.
Yes.
And to link the release of money to clearance, what Ukuri Yatani was trying to do, because really, that is the job of treasury, that is the job of controller of budget. Ukuri Yatani was only trying to implement, but it didn't work. I think Jogona Dongo, the current CS, should take a cue and get the support of the president, get the support of National Assembly, get the support of all the offices, so that we move forward, because we can't have a scenario where Kenyans' livelihoods are being destroyed by selfish governors, selfish
that the issue of pending bills is also a big problem to the MCAs of this country. That indeed, if they would want to solely discuss on pending bills, they would, and these county governments would pay it, but they do not. Dr. Mwangi.
They do not, because the MCAs, of course, the MCAs are supposed to hold the executive into account.
Yes.
Why are they also approving the budget? Because the governor's budget is also approved by the MCAs. Why are the MCAs or the county assemblies not holding the governor to account? Because the whole system is corrupt. The whole system, whether you go to the assembly, there is corrupt practices, whereby as a governor I can also pay the MCAs to pass my budget and they keep quiet about this. It is a whole corrupt system.
Pretty much. I don't know whether we do have Mr. Kigoli online. Do we have you, Mr. Kigoli? All right. Here is it now, that indeed the issue of pending bills is an issue that is going to be still with us, that nothing can be done around it, unless then we go the Ukuri Yatani way of saying, if you do not settle them, there's no need of me giving you this money. That it's an issue that the MCAs have to settle by themselves. So the failure of these counties to settle these bills is just an issue of the MCAs.
No, first the MCAs. The MCAs are they should be the ones providing oversight, apart from this majorly being assisted by the senators. The MCAs are the ones who passes the budget at the assembly. They should provide oversight to the governor. But they are not doing this. These are the first lot of the stakeholders who should ensure that the governors are accountable. But you know, most of the MCAs are elected in party lines with the governor. Now, they will rarely do anything substantive in terms of putting the governor on on watch or on accountable lens. What they will do is, even themselves, they have personal interest. They want to create a good rapport with the governor so that to receive some favors from the governor, being the chief of the county, and they know he's the one who has a say on county resources. They know that if they oppose the governor, they will not get much development in their wards. They will not get, I'll say, I don't want to say much of kickbacks or what, but they will not get some benefits directly from the governors.
Yes.
Because we've had, in the past 10 years,
Yes.
we've had scenarios where governors have been taken on trip in their own houses. Yeah. The governors, not governors, the MCAs have been taken trips in their own houses. They say that the governor went for a trip in South Africa, which is not the case. They just close themselves in their houses for 1 week. Then they resurfaced on a Saturday. They said, oh, South Africa is pretty good. And the money is in their pockets. Yeah. We've had such cases. Why? They want to please the governors so that to receive that favors.
Yes.
And you know, the budget, that budget will end up in their pockets. So they will do nothing in putting the governors in oversight.
Yes.
And I think one of the major reasons why the independent governors, I'll take an example of Meru governor, have a challenge is that this is an independent governor. He doesn't have even an MCA who was elected on his side, maybe one or two who are independent, and they think that they'll work with him. So these people, this governor will have an issue with the MCS because being an independent, she has come with an independent mind that I came as independent, that's why people chose me, I have to work. The MCS will see now, like the previous governors were given some goodies from the governor, there were some favors that were done in their wards. We also need that, but this is an independent governor. She has an independent mind. She needs to work for the people because people elected her without the party.
Yes.
Now, the tussles will start. We are not receiving ABC.
Yes.
Now, pending bills, even the approvals of those projects and contractors it's done by the MCAs. When a contractor is given to do roads or to do supplies in a county,
yes,
MCAs have passed it. Why is it hard that this MCA now should also come back to the assembly and say, Governor, we passed this and the work has been done, funds are there, let's pay. Why are we diverting funds to the other side? You know, the 50% of our county funds, if you are on the ground, you will realize that there are some activities that are conducted by governors which most of these funds go there. And most of the people who benefits a lot in these counties are either the relative to the governor, very close people who supported the governor, the friends. There is no that, I would say, there is no that clear framework whereby those people who are not even close to the governor can benefit a lot. Even issuing the contract, you will find that this is a person who knew the governor or knows the governor very well, or he has been given a reference to the governor. So the MCS have to up their games, have to ensure that they are working for the people.
Yes.
Very little you will see. If you see a governor being impeached for financial or gross misconduct, when you do a close research, you realize that this governor do not have a good relationship with the MCS. But if you have a good relationship with the MCS and you are doing nothing, you will receive praises. Actually, we've seen governors, I don't want to mention names, but if you look, we have some governors who have served their 10 years very well.
Yes.
But if you look, you do your analysis very closely, they did little to that county.
Yes.
Yeah. So the president and the agencies and the National Assembly should ensure that they have also a policy whereby they look at the work and the responsibilities of the MCS in terms of oversighting the governance,
isn't it? Pretty much. Dr. Mwangi, just
Yes.
even before you add on to that, there's one governor, as we then end this particular conversation, there's one governor, his name is Simbarati. In his first week of going to office, he said, I know what the problems are that have been bedeviling this county, that is Kisii County. Said, look here, one of them is, I don't understand how majority of you are employed here. I've done a simple audit of the files in the office. I've not even seen some of you that are working or purport to work for this county. Then called all of them to Gusii Stadium. Told them, you're given the message from all your departmental heads that you're supposed to meet me today at the county offices. That is at the Gusii Stadium. Then he realized that people supposed to be promoted were essentially not promoted. People who are purporting to work for that county government were either not there or were not the ones who were essentially working for that county government in the process of trying to fight even the ghost worker issue. Is it true for us to sit here and pretend that these governors are still battling ghost workers issue in their county governments when COG is saying, well, 43% of the revenues that you're giving the county governments, all of them are going to paying salaries, 43%, and that they should only be at 34%. And they're saying that if you look at the 47 counties, Dr. Mwangi, it's only 7 counties, actually 11 counties, that have essentially decided to say we're going to strictly remain within the SRC boundaries of 34% of the revenue that's coming to the county that we're going to use for payment of salaries. So we're going to sit here and say the 36 counties that nothing can be done to these governors, and that we're going to sit here and also pretend and say that the ghost workers issue is an issue that a governor cannot be able to solve within 5-10 years. Dr. Mwangi.
Yes, it is true that there are a lot of ghost workers. It is true that, and these ghost workers are avenues for siphoning out money.
Yes.
Partly to the governors themselves or their cronies. Maybe even the governors don't know, some of them. And this is a major problem, which all boils to the big problem of corruption in our country. Number one. Number two, it boils to the lack of oversight, because until the county government is properly oversighted to the level where the assembly can be able to bring out these issues, we will do an audit. Governor Arati did an audit. I hope his intention was good and that he will then streamline and not behave like his predecessors to employ either his cronies or to have a system where it is accountable. He can be able, at a tap of a button, be able to know who is on the payroll and what jobs they do.
Yes.
And is it that nothing can be done to the governors? I mean, as things are today, we haven't seen anything done, because the criminal justice system that we have is also not watertight. So for any governor to be prosecuted, to have the right evidence, you know, those issues, which has something to do with the whole system.
Yes.
Let me suggest a possible cure for these things. If you go to Kisumu County Assembly, who are the MCAs? Largely, majority of them, a large majority will be from ODM. If you come to my own county, Murang'a, who are the MCAs? Largely, almost near above 90% are UDA. Whichever part of the country you go. So, do we have a healthy debate in that assembly? That the governor is UDA, the MCAs are UDA, the senator is UDA, everything is UDA, or ODM for that matter. So we have a scenario where in our own National Assembly, we have a semblance of democracy. And that is why we have had, even when we've been talking about maandamano and so, it's at a national level, at the presidential level, because in the parliament, we have some semblance of democracy. You know, we have a reasonable number of opposition MPs. We have no opposition MCAs. We have no serious minority party. So this position we see in the National Assembly called minority party leader does not exist in any assembly. Tell me which assembly has a minority party leader, because there isn't enough people. So who is the problem? The problem is Wanjiko. When it comes to voting, Wanjiko is voting on the basis of the weed. This is ODM, ODM. Yeah. This is UDA. Wanjiko is not thinking rationally. And that is why even the conversation about reconstituting the IEBC becomes so very important, to see how we make progress in that area. That is why we need to think about how do we do, what is the role of civil society, what is the role of churches, what is the role of, because we have seen a scenario in elections where even the churches go to bed with whoever it is, or, you know. So we have a scenario where Wanjiko herself hurts herself at the time of the election and votes people who are not going to fight for her. Then she starts complaining, as we are complaining here today. Because how are ODM MCAs going to oversight ODM governor? How will ODM senator oversight ODM governor? How will UDA MCAs oversight UDA governor? We have to think about our democracy. And for me, I believe in multi-party democracy. We have no multi-party democracy in county assemblies. And to that extent, we'll have ghost workers. There is no one to point out. And then the auditor and controller general, who is also supposed to be auditing. Which report are we now receiving? For which year? You know, several years behind. So the report comes in late. Some of the reports coming in, the governors have already left. They are already out.
That's indeed true.
They have served their term. And what are they likely to do to you? I mean, that report doesn't serve us. We also need the auditor and controller general to be proper, up to date, so that the questions that are arising, the audit questions, are current. Then you can bring people to account and take action. Otherwise, as a country, we just continue to talk. I mean, we talked about a wheelbarrow. Nabiso talked about a wheelbarrow that cost 100,000. What did Wanjiko do? Voted back the same governor. So why are we talking about it?
Isn't it? We have only 3 minutes left for this conversation. I'm going to give you a minute. And this is exactly what the question I'm going to put you, just before I put the same question onto Dr. Mwangi. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is going to be in that closing ceremony for the conference. I'm going to quote what he said when there was an embargo in distributing of the county funds. He said, "Hata mkitutoa suruari, mtupige, hiyo pesa iko." All right? In 1 minute, what do you expect both the Deputy President and the President to tell the governors in this particular conference? Nabiso, just 1 minute.
Okay. One, I really expect that both the President and the Deputy President, because when they were campaigning, they promised that the county government revenues will be increased. And we expect both of them to explain to the governors why they have not received that increment in this 1 year, and what are the plans. They have to tell whether there are plans that in the next 2 or 3 years or in the next financial year there will be an increase, because it is unexpected that the governor expects, and majority of the governors are from UDA, in their meetings, that are the parliamentary group meetings, the governors were promised that the funds will be increased for you to do their works. So that should be explained. The timeline should be given on when these funds should be increased.
Pretty much. Dr. Mwangi, same question as I walk over then to end this particular show this morning. One, Raila Amolo Odinga will be right there, and also RUTO will be right there. What do you expect, in just 1 minute, what do you expect Raila Amolo Odinga to focus on, and what do you expect President Dr. William Ruto to focus on in 1 minute before we step out?
Well, I expect Dr. William Ruto, as he opens the conference, to ask the governors to have an honest conversation, and for them to be united, to be complementary to the national government, so that they can deliver the development they promised Mwananchi. As he keeps on saying, the Mwananchi did their job, they elected us, they gave us our work, it is now our work to give, to provide service to Mwananchi. And I would expect him to be telling them, where you work, make sure that the services are delivered, health services are delivered, education is delivered, the roads are done, electricity is done, and so forth. I expect Right Honorable Raila Odinga to tell the governors, you as a county government, you receive your resources. You have the ability to plan your resources. You do not need to go to State House to beg for resources. It is provided in the Constitution. Work for the people. I expect him to tell him that. And for the Deputy President, with all due respect, Rigathi Gachagua, his language may appear rough, but I think, in a way, he speaks the truth. Where are we as a country today? That money that we are talking about increasing, honestly, wherever you work and wherever I work, where is that money? It is not there. So let's work with the resources we have. I expect him to tell them that. Work with the resources you have. Don't expect any more resources because the taxes are down. Even the fuel that they increased, consumption of fuel has gone down. There are no cars in the street. So even the revenue they are expecting is not there. They have had to come in again, although they are not using the word subsidy. They are saying they are stabilizing, which means they have realized the problem, the things that they were being told all along, that there's a need to cushion the population against the rising cost of living. So I think Rigathi will tell them the truth. Don't expect more.
That's it. Guess what? Take them back to the time that they joined us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiagasimba myself. The hashtag still continues at that's the Morning Drift. It's a good day for us to end this. I'll see you tomorrow again for another edition. Goodbye.